These are like 3 fundamental steps. Ultimately, they will help you to build an extremely strong foundation to build your entire career off of. And if you can get this part right, anything else that gets thrown at you will feel very easy.
Welcome to the Stay Independent podcast, your space for tangible and actionable ways to build an independent artist career. Today we're sharing 3 things creatives can do to avoid burnout. To help us talk through this, we have a Nashville songwriter signed with Big Yellow Dog, but more importantly, she's a new mom in the music industry. And as a new parent myself, I know that if anyone can speak to burnout, it's a new mom. Please welcome Allison Morris. Hi.
Hello.
And you have a guest as well.
Yeah, he's back there playing with all sorts of toys inside of his little pack and play.
What does a 10-month-old play with?
He's really into silicone like stacking cups right now, and any sports ball. He's like a sports guy. He's got a football, basketball, a soccer ball, and he's obsessed with them.
How are you feeling right now? Is it like are you approaching burnout now as a mom and a new mom in the music industry, or like how do you feel?
I wouldn't say I'm approaching burnout. I would honestly say I'm approaching this season of like I'm fired up, like I'm ready to go. And I think it was just giving myself time postpartum to like heal and start to feel like myself again. Instead of, I did kind of jump back into sessions like 3 months after he was born, but I kind of took it slow. Like I only did remote sessions first, and then I kind of got back into in-person, and even still now I'm back in sessions. I'm not writing every day like I was. I'm maybe doing 2 or 3 days a week. Still giving myself the space to write solo on some days or during nap time, and but my husband is going to be part-time remote now with his job. So I'm like, when he is home with him, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, I'm ready to go.
Can you speak to a time that you felt burnout? I mean, I definitely have experienced that. Like, what did that feel like for you? Why do you think it happened?
It's actually funny. I think I got most burnt out during 2020 because, a lot of people were kind of at home just like chilling, like, well, there's nothing to do. And I was like, nobody's doing anything. That means that I have the opportunity to do everything and get ahead. And so I was doing maybe 3 remote sessions a day during COVID. Wow. Pretty much every day of the week, like on Sundays sometimes too, which I am like a huge believer. I don't work on Sundays anymore. Yeah. But I was doing like 3 sessions a day, pitching like shortly after, I guess it was 2018 is when I had a K-pop cut. And so during 2019, 2020, I was heavily pitching my stuff to publishers out in South Korea. And so I'm sending emails every day, doing 3 sessions a day. Also staying out with my husband at the time. We were just dating. Yeah. And so, it was like, oh my gosh, I sometimes would hit days where I'm like, kind of like floating in space because I haven't given myself time to like sit down or like not stare at logic, Right. Then I just feel like, sorry, go on.
I feel like what you said, when I experienced burnout, I would say around 2021, 2022. I moved here in 2020, and like things began to ramp up, and I would like you saying trying to just do everything all at once. Like that was my experience or how burnout onset. I feel like that leads, I mean, we've got 3 things today that we've prepared. It leads really well into the first one, which is stay on mission. That's the first thing you can do to avoid burnout. And I just wanted to define mission. Like, I feel like that's, obviously a pretty relatively well understood word, but to me, a mission is a strongly felt aim or calling, and really something that's bigger than yourself. And in order to stay on mission, you really have to know your mission. When do you feel like, do you agree with that? And like, how have you felt that in your life and your creative journey?
Yeah, I think around that same time, it was almost like I was measuring my success or like my productivity, I think, with the wrong metrics in a sense, and not really looking at the big picture. You know, it was like, oh, chasing this opportunity, chasing that opportunity, chasing this cut, chasing this pitch. I kind of lost sight of like, what am I ultimately trying to do? I would love to sign a publishing deal was the one thing, but I feel like, you know, getting lost in the sauce of like the pitch game and the chasing, it was like, I haven't even set up any meetings with publishers. I haven't even been reaching out to publishers. You know, you kind of, I feel like sometimes it's easy in this industry to kind of get caught up in what looks really shiny in front of you.
Yeah.
And forget, you know, this is where we're headed. Like, we're headed to this destination. And yeah, I think it's nice to kind of stop along the way and look at different things. But if you're stopped for too long, then it's like, oh crap, wait, hold on, what? Like, I don't even know which way I was going in the first place. So just having something to remind you of like, yeah, this is my mission and this is what I stand for as a writer or an artist, and this is what I want to portray in my brand or in, you know, time I walk in the room or whatever it is.
Yeah. Do you feel like the mission around 2020, around your burnout became these metrics or numbers or like a I don't know, like success indicators? Was that
Yeah, I would say my like numbers during that time was like, how many songs can I add to my catalog? How many emails can I send in a day?
Yeah.
You know, how many yes can I get? How many holds can I get? How many producers can I get to respond to me? And you know, at the time, I do think there's a season for all that kind of stuff, but I do think that I was very distracted by, you know, trying to look like I was doing more than maybe I was actually doing. I mean, I sometimes feel like you feel like you're doing a lot, but really you're just busy. You're making yourself busy, and you're not really moving the needle forward.
Yeah, busyness isn't. Yeah, because you're serving this like metric, or your mission becomes this success indicator, so you don't like I don't know, it's just about stacking that whatever that number is. And a lot of times totally. I feel like when you do have a mission, I mean, you can just recognize that when it's bigger, you recognize that a mission should be bigger than yourself, I believe, and totally. It's not all up to you. So you don't have to. Absolutely. You don't have to work, you know, yourself down to the bone to see that mission through. Like, you're kind of part of something, part of a whole. You know, you're one out of however many people that are working towards this, because it's ultimately not like, it's not about you. I think the question to ask yourself when you're looking for a mission is, what are you serving? What do you 100%. Want to be known for when you leave this earth?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
No, I agree. I think that, you know, something that I've talked to a lot of people about, I think as I've come to this point in my journey in my career, it's almost like you kind of have to come to a point of like being okay with not being famous. Like, I feel like a lot of people who enter into the music industry or chase a career, it's like the one thing is like, well, I just want to be famous. I want to be like Taylor Swift. I want to be like, you know, whoever it is. But I'm like, okay, I think that could be a great goal to have if that's really what you're after. But I think, kind of like you said, like, who are you serving? What value are you bringing to your fans, to your audience? Because really, art is to be shared, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is to connect people, to portray a vision or a goal or something. And, you know, if your steps in your career are just consistently self-serving, you are going to have a really hard time building any sort of community or fan base, because, you know, people love some of the biggest artists of all time that I can think of. It's because people saw themselves in that life, in that position, in that scenario. And yeah, so I think it's important to just remember that what you do as a writer, as an artist, is much bigger than yourself. And when you start to see it that way, and stay on that mission, so to speak, there's a lot more people that can, latch onto it when they find it.
Yeah. And support that even, or come alongside you.
Totally.
How do you feel like you've found your mission, or what are things that you've used to define that, or I don't know, incorporate it as like the thing that you're working towards in your career?
Yeah, I think I had a mentor actually who was like, you should legitimately sit down at your computer or on your phone and like write out a mission statement or write out things that are important to you. Because I think even just if I look even more introspectively at like songwriting, when I was building my catalog at first, it was like I felt like my songs were all over the place. And even in meetings with publishers and labels, it's like your songs are all over the place. And so even sit down to define like, well, this is something I would say in a song. These are things I would never say in a song. But I think that that's super important to your brand, to your career, to your mission. Not even as an artist, I would say more so as a being. Like, here's some things that I would never say in a song. Especially now being a mom, certain topics or certain things, like I would hate for my son to dig up a song one day and be like, "Oh, I can't believe my mom wrote this,"
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's like integrity. So yeah, I literally sat down and just wrote everything out. I'm a journaler. I love to physically write things down and just kind of like step back and look at it. And so I wrote down what I thought was sort of a mission statement, things I would and wouldn't say, people who I strive to work with, organizations that I strive to work with. I'm a huge advocate for
organizations and artists that have shared values.
Totally, yeah. And I think part of, after, I think it was right before 2020 when I started kind of getting into this, but I think you know this, but I right before college I had brain surgery and overcame a lot of obstacles in that whole journey. And I feel like a lot of us are always like, well, who cares? Yeah, who cares about this? Who cares about that? I'm like, there are people who care. There are people who are inspired by stories and who are inspired by other people's lives. And so I put together an entire tour where I raised money for the American Brain Tumor Association and made it fun. It was a house show tour, and literally drove around the US with friends, and that to me felt like very mission driven.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every single thing has to be a fundraiser or like in collaboration with an organization, but maybe it is, especially if you feel connected to a cause or if you want to be an advocate for something. I think that it's important to remember, again, as artists, as songwriters, as producers, as people in the entertainment industry, people look to us to be entertained, but also like we can inspire and invoke action and good deeds within people who pay attention to what we do.
Right. Yeah. One thing that a lot of times in my work, my content work with artists, we do a lot of brand work, and I feel like brand a lot of times should be synonymous with your mission. And I've used these branding prompts. I'll just read through them real quick. I fundamentally believe in blank. I am fundamentally against blank. What I'm going to change in the world is blank. I'll change this by blank. The people who gravitate towards me will be this, and people who will know me for this. I just think it's like important to like define who you are, who you're not, the higher good that you're serving. And one thing that you said in our prep for this that I really loved was, we're both Christians, and that's kind of our journey in life, and obviously impacts us professionally. But a lot of people say, I want God to write my story, but they have a death grip on the pen. Like, I loved it. Yeah. I love that you said that. I feel like just kind of letting go a little bit and like having a little faith that you know, like that this thing that you're serving isn't all up to you, and you can kind of pace yourself. Commit over time,
Totally.
commit consistently, but you don't have to do it all at once.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, I mean, we can only control so much in our lives. And I've been in a place where I thought I could control everything, and honestly, it's just a very disappointing lifestyle, especially when you're consistently realizing that you don't control everything. And so just accepting that and doing what you can every day and just continuing to move forward, even if it's not a big step or finishing a big project. It's any step forward is a step forward.
Yeah. All right, our second thing that we wanted to share today was that creatives should practice the discipline of resting. What do you want to say about that?
Anyone who knows me, I'm so passionate about this topic. I mean, I feel like I drill it into the heads of the people who are in my close circle and people I meet. I'm all for rest. I do think that there's seasons where we need to buckle down and maybe have a couple late nights, but I have seen firsthand, and I've seen it in a lot of people close with me, what your life can look like and feel like when you don't rest, when you don't take a second to breathe, when you're not eating. I mean, when you're showing up to 3 sessions a day, straight iced coffee, you haven't eaten any food or any protein, and you know, and then you hit this big like dip, or you know, you're struggling with your mental health, and I'm like, take a day. This kind of goes back to the same thing too, like we can only control so much. So, you know, how productive are you really being if you are never powering down and giving yourself the opportunity to like live life, especially as a songwriter? What do you have to write about if you aren't even living life or experiencing life, you know?
One thing you said was before this call was balance output with input.
Totally.
Like I don't think you can write a good song if you don't have experiences to draw on, life to draw on, something that you've lived, that you can speak about. What sort of structure have you put in your routine? How have you created space for resting?
Yeah, so I legitimately schedule it into my day-to-day now, especially being a mom. I mean, there are just times when if you are a parent or you want to be a parent, I mean, you know, they change almost daily, sometimes weekly. I feel like every 3 days it's like something new. And so I feel like I'm kind of figuring that out, but having scheduled times, like I said earlier, I do not work on Sundays, and most times I don't even work on Saturdays unless I have to go to a studio and cut a vocal, because I know my husband will be home on a Saturday. But I try to schedule in resting time, you know, like if I am going to a studio or I have a session, my rule pretty much every day is I don't work until 11 o'clock. I use my mornings to journal, to have my little coffee, to spend time with my son, to go on a walk, to work out, things for my body and my mind before I jump into my work or my creative space. And that honestly I feel like has been setting me up for success, because when it hits 11 o'clock, when I hit that time of like, okay, it's go time, I feel so much more charged up and ready to go, instead of this like rush to get to a coffee meeting, rush to get to a session, rush to get to the next session. I'm just done with rushing. And honestly, I used to be super type A. I was like 2 hours early for everything. And after a lot of therapy and like healing, I'm like almost chronically late for things now, which also is not the best, but honestly, so much less anxiety and like just space to like really embrace every moment that I'm existing in and like experiencing, instead of feeling like, oh, I gotta get to this next thing and run around and anyways.
I love the word that you just said, and I feel like I've said it too today, but space, just creating space. Like I feel like that's a lot of what resting is about. I think that when I feel like when you're serving a mission that's bigger than yourself, you have to give space for inspiration, for processing, I mean, it recently, we had our second child a couple weeks ago, and I took a week off after that, just to help out and help my wife and be present. And I didn't even intend for it to like impact my job or anything, but I just had like a lot of ideas come to me, stuff that I didn't even really like. It's nothing that I was striving for. Like it just kind of arrived, you know? I feel like if you're just constantly busy and you're constantly moving, you don't have. I've never regretted taking time off. I always come out of it recharged, and re-inspired. Especially, totally. I feel like with the mission that I have with the company that I've started, No Name, like I reapproach serving that mission with new ideas and just ready to go again. Have you felt that ever? What can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, totally. I love how you said I've never regretted taking time off. I almost kind of feel that way about taking vacation. You know, you're like, I don't want to spend the money, but I'm like, has anybody ever come back from a vacation been like, we shouldn't have taken that vacation? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's always a good idea to give yourself this word we keep talking about, space. And I think when I think about it in terms of like my relationship with God, when I first started to explore my faith again, I remember somebody had told me, you know, because in my head, and whenever I talk to people, I'm like, oh, I'm constantly in prayer. I'm like, I strive to just be in a consistent state of prayer, which is just conversation with God, right? Like, that's what I strive for. And then somebody had said, that's great, but do you listen? Yeah. And I was like, whoa. Prayer being a conversation, in any conversation, there's speaking and there's listening. And I feel like, you know, as a creative especially, if we're in this constant state of speaking, or as I said, like constant state of prayer without listening, and whether it's the universe you believe in,
constant state of writing songs, getting, you know, stacking
it's
your
just,
cuts.
Yeah, if we strive to ebb and flow with our lives, to give and receive, I think that a lot of people I know in the music industry, it's a lot of giving. It's like writing, like you said, chasing cuts, stacking placements, coffee meeting after coffee meeting, especially here in Nashville. It's like, I know some people have coffee meetings 5 times a day. And It's like, okay, when is there time for you to just sit and rest and listen? Honestly, I love going to coffee by myself. I don't even listen to music. I just sit in silence and stare at my coffee. It's like in my head, but there's something so like energizing about that, to me at least. And maybe to other people if they actually tried it, honestly. I feel like many people just haven't tried the art of actually resting, you know?
Yeah. One thing that you said before the call was come up with your hours. This is a job.
Totally.
I love that. As I approached burnout in like 2021, 2022, I was working. I'm serious. I would like work, take dinner, eat dinner, and then keep working. I would work until like 10 or 11. At the time, like this was my bedroom too. Now it's just my office. But, you know, I would literally just like
never work where you sleep.
Yeah. That's a good. I agree with that. But just like roll out of bed, start working, roll back into bed. It was so blurred, you know. Totally. And I think that like now I have working hours. Now I have office hours. I have an uncle who's a financial advisor. He told me that right when I started. I didn't listen to him at the time.
Wow.
But I think when you own your own business and when you're independent, like, you know, a lot of us we're like freelance or we control our own hours. Like you need to define like when you're on mission, you know, you need to
absolutely.
That way that, you know, you have space for other things in life and friends and
I think that's super important. Yeah, having hours, like these are my rest times. These are my And rest is different for everyone too. For some people, rest is watching like trash TV. That's fine. For me, resting is no phone, no like noise, just walking outside, or I don't even like to listen to music if I'm resting because my music brain's just going. So I feel like it's hard to rest in the society where your worth is measured by your productivity. Because everybody thinks, if I rest, I fall behind. And honestly, I feel like if we didn't have social media, that would not even be a thought in people's minds. Like, they would truly rest and take the time for themselves because they wouldn't be worried about what it looks like to other people or what other people are doing. Right. And so, just reminding yourself that, you have worth in who you are, period, without how much you get done or don't get done in a day.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we call it, is the practice, the discipline of resting. If you don't know what resting looks like for you, it's something that you have to practice. I think like it for some people, yes, it is watching trash TV, but maybe that doesn't work for you. And I think it's worth it. I think we're both trying to encourage whoever's listening to this to try and practice it.
100%. Explore and, try different things. Maybe resting is listening to music for you, but, for me, if I am resting, it's classical music, it's jazz, or reggae, honestly. It's like something where I know I'm not going to think about what I'm hearing and I can just vibe and exist. Yeah. Because then I get recharged,
Yeah. This leads, you can't really practice the discipline of resting without getting organized, which is the third thing that we're sharing today. I think in get organized, you think like, scheduling, and which is definitely, this is a big part of it. But the one thing that you said that I wanted to share at the top was avoid mental chaos. Do you want to speak to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, I think that this just kind of, I can give an example of my own mental chaos. I feel like prior to me signing my publishing deal, when I was still very independent and didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but it was almost like...
He agrees.
I didn't know... I didn't know how to prioritize or organize properly. So, my songs were all over the place. Couldn't even tell you who I wrote this list of songs with, right? Because I'm so busy scheduling the sessions, I'm not writing down the metadata. And then on top of that, not eating, not having a schedule of like, I need to make sure I'm taking care of my body and my health. And then on top of that, scheduling meeting after meeting after meeting. I wasn't using Google Calendar, I believed in I still have one, but like a planner. Oh, here are my lottery tickets that I lost on. Well,
it's interesting. That's interesting. I did the same thing. When I came to town, and maybe more. I was thinking about what we could say under get organized, and I was like, well, a big thing that happened for me was when I started using a calendar. Maybe more people aren't using a calendar than, like, if we both didn't use a calendar starting out. I mean, that's a game changer. Because again, when you define your work hours, and then once it's full, it's full, and then you can also take space on that calendar for yourself, or you can schedule something that, and you're just not available. Maybe there are people that need to hear that, because we definitely needed to.
And I think a lot of times I read this thing. I'm trying to think of what it is so I don't say it incorrectly, but it's like, your free time does not mean availability. Like, I think a lot of people in our industry get that confused. Just because you have your morning free does not mean you always have to schedule a coffee meeting in that time or a third session. Like, sometimes your free time should just be your free time. Or, you know what? Use that time. Hey, I know I need to catch up on some admin. Like, I personally have scheduled the first day of every single month. That's my admin day. So as the month goes on, I make a list of things I know I have to do, right? Update metadata, update lyrics in my disco, update my spreadsheet of songs. I will keep a list, and the first of every month, I will sit down, morning or night, depending on what day it falls on and stuff, but that's my day to do admin work. And I feel like that's eliminated a little bit of my chaos, instead of being, oh, I've got to do admin every single day on top of everything else I'm already doing. Like having a scheduled time to get specific things done and making that like almost like a monthly routine or a weekly routine, or having some sort of routine can help. That can be literally the first step in getting organized with your career, with your life, is scheduling things, scheduling certain days or certain times for certain things.
Right. Yeah. I do this content thing full time, day to day, but I also book and manage a pop showcase here in town. And I think a lot of people have told me, I think I book something like, it's over 250 artists a year.
Wow.
And I mean, that's like kind of like a side thing that I do, but that sounds, that sounds hard, and it is hard. It's challenging, but there are a lot of tools out there that you can use. Like one thing that I haven't really seen other showcases do, but I schedule through Calendly. I have a certain number of slots per show. There's a lot of automated emails. There are tons of tools out there that you can use now that can eliminate chaos. I think it's just like taking a second to, it is worth it. It's worth it to just like look at things that you're doing day to day. And I need to do this continually, but
totally
look at the things that are taking space, that are, that you can maybe eliminate with automation or some tool. Like you mentioned this, but disco is a kind of becoming an industry standard for songwriters. In almost every area of life. For me, with my content clients, I use Notion. There's a way to add organization and structure to your efforts. Just to wrap this up, do you have any last thoughts about avoiding burnout, or more specifically to like ways that you've found organization, eliminated chaos in your life?
Yeah, I think sort of what you were saying, just having systems in place, right? Like systems in any business. Like if you think a restaurant, there's a system to close down the restaurant. If you were a server, you have to do side work before you leave. There's certain things that have to get cleaned and shut down. Like have systems in place so that it makes it easier to, bend the rules if you need to, or take a little break if you need to, or whatever it is. But if you have no systems in place, then there's no like standard. There's no standard for you to kind of go back to or iterate off of. So having systems in place and making sure that you are just disciplined in those systems, I think is one of the biggest ways to get organized and stay organized. And if you don't know how to do that, I've had a lot of friends who got offers for publishing deals and talk a lot about, organizing your catalog on Instagram. And so I've had a lot of people come to me, and I've helped a lot of people get their catalog organized or their metadata organized or whatever it was. I mean, if you don't know how to do something, there's no shame in asking for help or admitting that you don't know how to do it and finding somebody who does. I think that is also one of the things that keeps people from finding that like breakthrough, that organization, or that that next step, is because they're afraid to admit that I don't know how to schedule my time. It's a very real thing. Admit it, find someone who can help, watch some videos on YouTube. I mean, whatever it is you have to do to figure it out, like admitting that you need help with something or that you don't know fully how to do something is the first step in like moving forward. And so
I agree.
I think it's super important.
I'd go back to, as a final thought, to the first thing that we talked about, and that's staying on mission. And I feel like when you have a mission and are committed to something that's bigger than yourselves, or bigger than yourself, you can rest in the fact that this is going to take some time. You don't need to finish it all today or tomorrow or even this year. Like you're
absolutely.
You can it's worth taking the time, since you're going to be committed to this for so long, to add structure, to cut out chaos, to rest, because you know that this is your profession and this is what you're committing your life to, and it's going to take time to get there.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think taking these are like 3 fundamental steps. Yes, they can help you avoid burnout. I think ultimately they will help you to build an extremely strong foundation to build your entire career off of. And if you can get this part right, anything else that gets thrown at you will feel very easier, because you know what you can come back to. You know, if something feels overwhelming, it's like, okay, come back to these 3 things, and what about these 3 things can you change? Can you try to come back to? Could you reinvent for yourself? Especially if you plan on longevity in your career. I mean, you have to know how to do these things. I mean, thinking in terms of like a singer, the amount of singers who've gone and had to cancel tours because they lose their voice. Yeah. You know, they're not prioritizing rest, they're not prioritizing fundamental systems like a vocal coach, things like that. So it's like, get these systems in place, get your rest in place, get your mission in place, and build your foundation off of that.